All right, so my name is Angela Gama, and I'm an instructional technology trainer here for the district, and I have my email address here in case you have any training needs. My job is essentially to train you guys in the use of the technology tools that we use in our everyday work. So from Microsoft to Google to Schoology, Nearpod, Adobe, you name it, we pretty much help you guys out, or at least try to. We'll find out a way that we can get those resources to you. Okay, so just email me, or you can send me a chat message in Microsoft Teams. Okay, so let's see what we're going to review during this webinar. We're going to talk about how do we search in our PDF files, how to do some advanced formatting in these files. Sometimes we need to do some minor corrections. We'll see how we can do that. How do we combine different files into a single PDF? Also, how do we organize pages when we already have our files created? If we need to move pages around, a very common case is to extract some pages from very large documents, especially my teachers that have some ebooks there that you like to extract a worksheet or a handout that has certain activities for your students. You grab that instead of giving them a big file. We can also create some forms now that we're in this distance learning phase. We don't necessarily have anyone fill out those paper forms. We can make those fillable forms so we can email them and get them filled out digitally. Also, I'll recommend a couple, well, it's just one Adobe Scan app. So you can take pictures of your documents using your phone camera, and those will automatically be PDFs, and they'll have a very nice quality. So you can go ahead and do all of the above with them. I will have a Q&A session also at the end. We're not that big of a group, so if you like to unmute yourself and ask the question, you can go ahead and do that. But if you have any questions during the webinar, you'd like me to clarify something that I'm explaining at the moment, you can go ahead and ask that in the chat. Okay, so let's go get started first with some basic information about what is a PDF. So in case you were wondering, PDF stands for Portable Document Format. This type of file gives you the ability of keeping the fidelity of the original file and share with anyone. That means that if I have a Word document and I like to share it with someone, that someone may not have the Word app installed in their computer. They may not have the actual app necessary to read the file that I'm sharing. When I convert these files to a PDF format, I preserve the original format, and it enables that end user to open it, since Adobe Reader is a free software and it can be installed at any device. Also, some situations where you have a very fancy font that you have installed in your computer, when you share it with that other person, if that other person doesn't have that font installed, it's going to change it to a different font that they do have. So it's not going to be the same look the way you have it in your original file. So when you convert these files to PDF, you can go ahead and preserve that look and feel. So no matter if you have a Word document, an Excel file, PowerPoint, any other text type of file, even an image, you can go ahead and convert all of these different files into a PDF so you can share and make sure that that fidelity is preserved. Okay. So this is a clear example here in that title. I have this very fancy type of font that I've downloaded in my computer and I'm able to use. When I share it with as a PDF file, it's going to look exactly the same. None of my lines are going to move around, none of my margins, my images, anything, and all of my links will work the same. So super easy to convert, and you can guarantee that it's going to look the same. All right, so now that we know a little bit of why we should be using PDFs, we can take a look at the different tools that we have in our Adobe Acrobat DC. And by all means, the ones that I'm going to go through in this webinar are not at all of them. Adobe Acrobat is a pretty robust app and you can do way more, but these are some of the most essential tools that I thought would be nice to show you guys. So let's start with the searching tool. So sometimes we are looking for that specific word or key phrase in a single document. And with Adobe, it is really simple to start a simple search, or I can even do a more advanced search in which it allows me to not only search in the current document that I'm in, but in an entire folder. So I don't have to go one by one looking in which document did I have this specific sentence or that I was looking for. So it's super simple to go ahead and start a single search. While I have my document open in Adobe Acrobat DC, I will see that magnifying glass in the top part of my screen. I have that toolbar that it's always visible, and I will click on that little magnifying glass. I will have this little window in the top right corner of my screen where I will go ahead and type the word or phrase that I like to search for. After I type that word, I will hit enter in my keyboard, and all those instances that matches with my search will be highlighted in my document. I will go ahead and go through the different results by clicking on the previous or next button there in that window. Up in the top where it says find, I can see the total of matches found in that document. I see that I'm in the second match out of 18. So I can go through the different ones and it'll take me to that spot in the document where I have that result. Additionally, if I click on that gear icon, I can be more granular about my search. I can just focus on whole words only. So if I don't have this item checked, as you can see in the example, by searching for flower, it also gives me as a result every word that includes those characters. So I got flowers in my results. So if I don't want any of those matches, I want exactly the word that I typed only, I can just check that whole words only so I don't get anything else but that word. I can also make it case sensitive. So if I'm looking for a particular way that a word was written, I can go ahead and type it exactly as it's going to show up in the document. I can decide to include any bookmarks in my search, or even include any comments if my document has any comments. I can also go ahead and open that full Acrobat search, so I can look in more than one document. Let's say this document didn't give me any results. I can go ahead and open full Adobe or full Acrobat search. And then instead of looking in the current document, I can go ahead and check that radio button for all PDF documents in, and then I will locate the folder that I like to search in. After I locate that folder, I can click on search again, and it'll give me all the different documents, all the files that have that results. So I can see that here I have the file titled find.pdf, and then I have a second document with some search results that's named advanced search.pdf. So each one of these files has that collapsible arrow where I can see all the different results there. And by clicking on each one of these, it'll open that file if it's not open, and it'll take me to that place exactly in the document where it shows up. So super convenient. So I don't have to go one by one searching again. And also I have those same options that we reviewed in the previous slide, the whole words only, case sensitive, include bookmarks, or even include comments. So it's pretty straightforward. And what I like is the ability of searching an entire folder and to have those items to customize my search even more. Okay. So let's go ahead and now talk about how we can combine different types of files into a single PDF. A quick note, when I share this PowerPoint with you, you will see these images in the slides, the one with the hand and the computer. These are links to videos where it shows you how to use this particular tool. So you don't have to rewatch the entire webinar if you don't want to. This will take you to only watch the tool being executed that you're in. Okay, so sometimes we need to combine different types of files into a single PDF. This tool doesn't limit you to only combine PDFs. You can pick a Word document, a PowerPoint, an image, any other type of file and combine it. And before you actually create that single PDF, you can customize your final document even more by moving your pages around. You can delete unnecessary pages. You can rotate pages. You can do a lot more before you combine it and even after, but I'm going to show you the process of doing it before. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we can combine files in Adobe. All right. So we're going to start by launching our Adobe Acrobat DC app in our workstation. And we're going to access that file option in the top menu. After we click there in this dropdown, we'll locate the Create option and we'll look at the combine files into a single PDF. So those are the 3 steps for us to start combining files. Once you click on that option, you'll see a window just like this one, and you can identify the tool that you're using at any point by looking at that top left corner where it says Combine Files. Now, from here, you can go ahead and click on that Add Files button to launch the file browser so you can locate the files in your computer. However, I like you to pay attention to the Add Files at the top because this is giving you more options, not just selecting individual files. So we see that the top option is the Add Files again, which is the same as the button. But if I have all my files in a single folder, or if I want to have multiple folders combined, I can go ahead and select the Add Folders option to go ahead and save me some time from going in and selecting all the files in a single folder. Then I can go ahead and add PDFs from Scanner directly. This is not very common, but it's good to know that it's possible. You can add a web page. So you don't need to convert the web page into PDF and then combine it if you don't want to. You can click on Add Web Page and you can copy and paste the URL that you're liking to convert into a PDF and combining. So that Adobe will take care of that for you. You can also add from clipboard. So if you need to just add a paragraph, or if you're using the snipping tool in your computer and you grab a snapshot of your screen, anything that by selecting and then you click copy When you click on copy, you are storing that in an area called clipboard. So that's what it means when you say something added from clipboard, is adding anything that you had copied. So if you're using the clipboard, if you highlighted some text in a document or a website and you right click and click copy, that's in your clipboard now, and you can add it directly from that area. You can add an email as well. So this is giving you a few more options than just a single file by clicking add files. So let's explore how we add some files there. We'll get this window and we will go ahead and select the files you like to combine. In this example, I'm using different types of files. I'm using a PDF, I'm using a Word document, and an image. So now that we selected the files, I'm going to then click on open. I will see the files I selected in these thumbnail view, and I can go ahead and click on each file and I will have this nice little menu right next to it. The top part, the top option there with those two arrows will allow me to expand my pages in a single file. So that file, for instance, had 2 pages, and now I can see them individually. I can go ahead and delete any unnecessary pages from a file, or I can look them up closely to see if I actually need it or not. Maybe I'm not sure. It's pretty tiny for me to um, make my decision, so I can take a closer look. And from here, I can decide to delete it by clicking on that trash can in the top left, or I can go ahead and browse between the different pages in my file by clicking on those arrows. So that's really nice that I'm able to kind of zoom into each one of these pages. Also, I'm able to move my files around. Let's say I combined them and they're not necessarily in the exact order I needed them. I can go ahead and click and drag these files to the exact spot that I need them. I didn't include it in this slide, but if you're looking at the files expanded like this, I can also grab this page number 2, for instance, and drag it out of the file and put it in any other place in this window. So I can arrange the pages in any way. Okay. So after we're done with the arrangement, the deleting any unnecessary pages, I can go ahead and combine my files, and I will get a brand new file with all the different pages that I added. Pretty nice, straightforward, and easy to use. All right, now let's talk a little bit about advanced formatting here. My recommendation when editing anything in a PDF would be to do it only if there are minor changes. If you have the original file format that is easier typically to format, like a Word document or an Excel or a PowerPoint, if there's more than just a few changes, I would go ahead and do those changes in the original format and then convert it again to a PDF. Because there are some formatting limitations in Adobe, and it's not the same as formatting in the original file format. You'll see the way Adobe processes the editing piece. So if there's just a few typos here and there, Adobe formatting tool is awesome. If you like to replace an image, add some text, add some images, Adobe would be also a great tool. But if it's more than just that, I need to replace an entire paragraph with something else, I would go ahead and do it directly in the original format. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can edit our PDFs. So we need to first of all have our file open in the Adobe Acrobat Pro DC app. From here, we're going to take a look at the panel we have on the right-hand side. Now, sometimes this panel is not expanded. we have that arrow between the scroll bar and the tool panel, and we can expand or collapse this panel so we have a little bit more view of our page. So when we expand it, we can see clearly each one of these tools, and I will go ahead and select the Edit PDF tool. When I click here, I can notice that in the top part, my edit icon is active because it's with the blue font, and that each one of my items in my page is with this box indicating that it converts it to an object. So my text become text boxes, my images are now clickable and I can move them around, replace them, do all of the different options that I have available. What can I do? Anything that I have available in this format panel is what I'm able to do in my Adobe Acrobat app. Now, there's something to be very clear about, that your ability to edit and how much you can edit in a document will highly depend on the quality of the document. So if you have a very old paper copy of a document and it's kind of hard to read already in the paper format, when you scan it and you like to edit it, it's probably not going to work. But if you have a pretty clear copy of something and you scan it, try to scan it with the highest resolution as possible so Adobe can scan through the document and identify what is text, what is an image. Otherwise, it'll identify your text as images and then you won't be able to format any of the text. So there's that caveat when editing. But if you have a Word document and you have it in a digital file, you like to convert it into PDF, it looks pretty clear just like this one, you shouldn't have an issue. So to edit a specific piece in your document, what you're going to do is make sure that you have that edit icon clicked on and it's blue. And then you're going to click on the specific object that you like to edit. So for instance, this text box, I can see that is clicked on because the blue frame is in that object. I have those handles and the rest of them, as you can see, are kind of grayed. So they're not clicked, they're not selected. So I also see that my formatting tools for the text lit up. So I can select any of the text, delete it, or I can change the font type, the color. I can make anything bold, italicized, underline, superscript. All the bulleted and number list I can add to my text. If I didn't want it in a paragraph style, I can make it to a bullet list or a number list. I can change the alignment of the paragraph. I can change the space between my lines, between my paragraphs, my space between my characters, right there. So only the text formatting tools lit up because I selected a text box. If I selected an image, the objects tools in the bottom will be active and I can use any of those in my images. So sometimes Adobe will detect text as an image so you can see what type of object Adobe got for your objects by just looking at those tools and knowing what you can do in each one of those. So pretty straightforward when it comes to editing existing items in your PDF. Now, another thing you can do, since these are all objects, you can move, rotate, or resize any of these boxes. So when you need to move something around, you need to make sure that your cursor looks just like this. You can mouse over the outer edge of your box and you can then drag to a different spot in your document. You'll have these green guiding lines for you to align your box correctly. So it's really nice that they're here so we can have everything lined up nice. Um, Also, if you need to rotate something, you need to make sure that your cursor looks just like this, a little rotating arrow, and then you can rotate it in any angle that you like. So if you need to um, put something sideways or just with a little angle for those flyers, you can go ahead and rotate those. Also, you can resize your box. So that's probably like if you worked in PowerPoint or Google, you probably know a little bit more about how to interact with these boxes. But if you have this amount of lines and you like to reduce it to, let's say, 3 4 lines because you have less space, you need to add something below it, then you need to resize the box. You need to adjust it to a different size so it all fits in 3 or 4 lines that you like. So you can go ahead and change the size of the width when you have your cursor look just like this. And you can go ahead and expand the size of your text box so the lines fit better. By resizing your text box, your font will not change in size. It's not automatically adjusted. You'll have to manually adjust all of this. So it takes a little bit of work to kind of adjust your boxes, change the text. That's why, I mean, if you're comfortable and you don't mind doing all this work, great. But if it takes a little bit more work, I would say go with the original file format, do it there, and then convert it back into PDF. All right. So another thing you can do in formatting your PDF is adding additional text. So if you need to add, let's say, more instructions or more information to your page, you can select one of these two options depending on what you like to do. And if you select the add text option, all you need to do is just go into the document and click in the spot where you like to draw that text box, and then you can start typing. You can change your formatting of your text very easily. Now, if you'd like to add an image, you can click there in the add image and you'll see the file explorer for you to go and locate the actual image you like to add. And then you will go ahead and click open. Pretty straightforward. Okay, that's a little bit about formatting. If you'd like to if you'd like me to show you live how it looks like, how you can do all this, I can do that in the Q&A piece if you'd like me to. Okay, let's now talk about a little bit about organizing your pages. Sometimes in Adobe, you need to extract some pages, like I was explaining in the beginning of the webinar. You need to copy a specific page. You like to crop your page so only the actual activities are shown if for your students, not the instructions that are sometimes informative for the teacher. You can crop your pages that way. You can reorder your pages in your document. You can split your document into different documents. You can delete also specific pages. So how do we get to do all of this? In that same right-hand side panel where we have all of our tools, we'll see the Organized Pages tool. Again, we need to have our document open, and then we click on that tool that says Organized Pages. We'll have this window where we can do all of these different tools. So by mousing over a specific page, we also see this toolbar where we can rotate or delete or add more pages after or before that page you have selected. Now, another thing you can do is extract pages. So I'm going to explain just how the extract pages work because of our time restraint and because it's the most popular, I believe, of the options here. So when you like to extract pages from a large document, what you need to do is first click on that option that says extract. You'll always know what option you have by identifying the option with the blue text or the blue icon. You'll know that that one is the one active. Then you'll go ahead and select the actual pages to extract. You can use your shift key in your keyboard to select more than one page, or you can manually enter them in that top part where it says organize pages, and next to it you can see that I have 2-3 because those are the pages that I selected using my mouse. But if I have a very large document, I know that I need to extract, let's say, page 45 and page 60. I can just go ahead and enter those numbers there in that top part. Then I will go ahead and click extract. Now, before I click on extract, there's a couple of options there. I can select to delete pages after extracting. So if I don't want these pages to still be in the original document, I can delete those all in one step. Or I can extract the pages I selected as separate files. This is super convenient because if I needed each one of these pages to be its own file, I don't have to repeat this extract process every time. I can just select the extract pages as separate files. So my page number 2 will be its own file and page number 3 will be its own file. Now, another place where we can go to organize our pages instead of going to that right-hand side panel, on the left-hand side of our Acrobat window, we will see these icons. Now, if you don't see them, again, there's that gray bar with the arrow to expand or collapse that mini panel right there. So if I click on the double sheets there, I can go ahead and open this panel for my pages. So I can go ahead and drag my pages up or down to arrange them, or I can click on that little menu icon to open this menu, and I can go ahead and select to extract pages, replace pages, delete any of the pages. I can go ahead and crop, rotate. I can do all of these different options directly in this menu. So it's another way of accessing these types of options. Now, if you're dealing with a file that is not letting you do any of this, sometimes publishers protect their documents from being altered. So just know that if you're not able to do any of this, it's because it's restricted by the publisher, not necessarily anything wrong with your app. So that way you need to ask for permission or just work around all of this. Maybe you can take a snap or a screenshot of it and do it in another way. Just keep in mind that. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about how we can create forms using Adobe Acrobat. You can make any paper form fillable using the Adobe form fields. It's super easy to add, and then you can email these PDF forms to whoever you like to fill out the forms, and you can grab all those forms filled out if by getting them back. So how do we add these? How do we create these fillable forms in Adobe? We're going to start by opening the file that is the form. So in this example, I have this sales order, and I see that my file already has those spaces for my users to enter, their full name, their address, and all that stuff. So Adobe has this engine that scans my paper form or this file and identifies those areas where it thinks that I want a form field. So let's go ahead and check out what Adobe does for us when creating forms. So again, you open your form in Adobe, and then This tool is not visible typically in that right-hand side toolbar, so we have to go up to the Tools tab to access the Prepare Form option. So I'm going to click on Tools, and I'll have all the different tools there available for me, and I will scroll down all the way to the Forms and Signatures area. There, I will go ahead and locate the Prepare Form option, and I can go ahead and click on the Open, or it will probably say Add in your screen if you've never added to that right-hand side panel. So you will go ahead and launch that tool, and it'll display the file that you have open. So I have a little thumbnail here, and the key piece that you like to watch for is that bottom text that says form field auto detection is on. This will launch that engine for Adobe to scan the document and add those form fields automatically for you. So you can go ahead and change that to on if it's off by clicking on that change blue font. And then you can go ahead and click Start. Now this is my result for this particular form. All of these blue rectangles with that black text or black highlighted text is a form field. So this is where my users will be able to type or use as a response. So in the top part of my tools, I will see the form fields that I have to insert to my form, and I'll go through them one by one in the next slide or so. Also, I can go ahead and preview my form just like my users would, just to make sure that every form field works the way it's supposed to work. I can adjust those properties by clicking on each one of my form fields and going into the properties option. This is something that sometimes you may need to change depending on your needs. So for instance, for the text box, the text field properties, the one that I typically go to and change is the Appearance tab. This is going to let me customize the way the text is going to show up when a user responds in that particular field. So I can adjust to a specific font size, to a specific font type. And if I want to kind of identify those responses easier, I can make them a specific color like a bright blue or a red, especially if I'm having some students respond to some activity sheets. I can clearly see their responses and having them not like blend in with the questions with the black font. Now each type of text or not text field, each type of form field has its unique properties. So this is just an example of what the text field properties are. You can go ahead and explore the rest of the form fields. We don't have time today to go through each one of them, but if you really if you're going to go ahead and do some Adobe fillable forms, you need additional help with all the properties and stuff, reach out to me and I can assist you with those training needs. So let's see what we can add to our form. The first couple of options there is to edit the document. So if I have a form and I need to change, for instance, the school year, or I need to add more instructions, I need to remove some of the text, I can edit my document using the first option is the same tool that we reviewed earlier in the advanced formatting. It'll have that bounding box around each one of my items. I can format the text, format the images. Now the T is going to allow me to add additional text. So I can add a text box to my form. That number 2 is a text field. So if I need my users to type something up, I use that one. I can do checkboxes if I need my users to check multiple responses, or if I need them to only select one, I use the radio buttons. So if it's a yes, no type of question, what's the credit card type, where they can only select one of the options, I want to make sure that it's a radio button instead of a checkbox. Then we got our list boxes. This option allows you to provide a list, and your users are able to select more than one option within that list using their shift key and their keyboard. They can select more than one. The drop-down list is only going to allow your users to select one. So it's kind of like the equivalent of your checkbox and your radio buttons, but in a form of a list. Also, the dropdown will allow your users to enter their custom response in case the one that they need is not part of the list. This is optional. This is something that you will allow for your users or not. Then we got our buttons. These are very convenient so that you can create those easy to use buttons for your users to, let's say, clear out a form or to save a form. You create these actionable buttons. The one that I really like is that if you need that form to be submitted back to you, you can create a button that it says, for instance, email, and I can click on the email and I can preset the actual email address that I like this form to be sent to. So there's no, confusion like, who am I going to send this to? It's already built into your form, the whole email processing piece. You can give your users the ability to upload an image into the PDF. And you got your date picker as well, and digital signatures. If you're starting to use some sort of a digital signature now that we're not at the office, you can go ahead and do the digital signature piece. And the one that I, haven't found a use in our district, for us at least in our department, is the barcode. Like, we don't have the software to actually have a barcode entered into the forms. So pretty much those are our form field options to include into our forms. How do we add any of these? Super straightforward. I would go ahead and click on the form field that I like to insert to my form, and then I go ahead and click on the area where I like to enter it or insert it. That's it. Then I will have this yellow label for me to change the name of my field if I want to identify it clearly. And I can change the properties as well by clicking on the all properties link right there. Now, something to remember, your fields cannot be named the same. So if I go ahead and say, okay, I need 3 more text fields, I'm just going to right click, click copy, and then paste, paste, paste. Those duplicated fields will have the same name as your original field. So they will all be named, for instance, text 1, text 1, text 1. So this cannot be in your form, because when your users add a response into the first field that it's named text 1, guess what? All the other ones that are named text 1 will also have that same response. So you need to go in and change the field name. You can do that in the properties in that first general tab, or you can go ahead and create new form fields by repeating those steps by clicking in the top and going into clicking in the part of the document. So whichever way you prefer, if you have like multiple fields to be created. Okay, so this slide is just for you to click on these links and download that app if you wish to have it installed in your phone. Super nice to have just your camera take a scan of a document, a whiteboard, a business card, and it'll eliminate the rest of the image that is not your document. So it'll scan through, it'll detect your document, it'll crop it nicely, and it'll make it clear so you can read the text. So sometimes, I don't know if you've received an image of a document that it's so blurry I can't even read it. What's the point of getting that image? With Adobe Scan, you can keep all those little things from happening. And this another slide, some resources if you'd like to access the Acrobat DC tutorials, pretty easy to follow. And you can schedule an appointment with me by clicking on that link. All right, so I know it was a lot to digest. I'll let that kind of marinate for a little bit. Think of any questions you may have. And I'm going to go ahead and share the attendance form link in our chat. Let me go ahead and just access that, and I'll paste it there in a second. Okay, so just let me know if you have any questions. You can post those in the chat, or you can just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask that question if you'd like me to show you something in particular that we reviewed or that we didn't review. I can go ahead and do my best. Okay, other than that, I want to thank you for coming in and spending part of your Friday morning here with me and learning about Adobe Acrobat. Thank you guys for coming in. Do we offer a more